Leopold Aschenbrenner, a 24-year-old hailed in Silicon Valley as the Nostradamus of AI, just recently saw his hedge fund shrink from a peak of $45 billion to a now measly $10 billion. Admittedly, I did not know much about Leopold before this whole $35 billion catastrophe, so when he was all over the news these past couple of weeks, my first thought was, how? How was a 24-year-old, who was only 22 at the time when he started his hedge fund, become entrusted with managing billions and billions of dollars? He was barely legally allowed to purchase alcohol when he began his AI hedge fund. Car rental companies charge people younger than 25 an additional fee to rent their cars because they know people in their early 20s are statistically higher risk to damage their cars. Yet for some reason, everyone in the tech world was praising this guy. They all thought he was an AI genius and that he could see into the future of where this tech was going before everyone else. Really? Then how did this catastrophic loss of $35 billion happen? If you're just as confused as I am, then let's break it all down. First, what is the origin story of Leopold, this oracle of everything related to AI? Well, he was born in Germany in the early 2000s, and at the young age of 15, when most people are just starting high school, he began attending Columbia University. He was obviously a very intelligent dude and thrived academically, graduating the prestigious Ivy League school at just 19 years old, then receiving a nearly perfect LSAT score and getting accepted to Yale Law, which he turned down. He decides instead to take his talents west to Silicon Valley. He then gets a job at FTX in February of 2022. Is this a coincidence that he worked for Sam Bankman-Fried, another proclaimed prodigy or golden boy of their industry who also lost his investors billions of dollars? Maybe. But after FTX imploded and filed for bankruptcy, Leopold joined OpenAI. Here, apparently, he ruffled some feathers with the leaders of the company and was eventually fired for allegedly leaking sensitive information, which Leopold disputes. A couple of months after he's fired from OpenAI is when Leopold makes his claim to fame. He publishes a 165-page essay titled Situational Awareness, The Decade Ahead. This manifesto of his is available online if anyone is interested in reading it. It is indeed 165 pages long. It's filled with fancy-looking charts and figures and data sets. It also uses AI itself, as it features an AI-generated image of what I guess the future will look like. And oh, does it look bleak. They claim this is what a $1 trillion data center could look like, and it looks very dystopian. It stretches on for what looks like miles, and it's emitting a ton of pollution into the air. But it's this essay that will catapult Leo from obscurity to AI tech fame, because this essay goes viral. Everyone is praising how Leo is so ahead of the curve and how he can see 10 years ahead of what AI will look like. So obviously, we need to follow this 22-year-old wonderkin as he guides us into the future. And look, I completely agree this essay is very informative and educational, but where I become skeptical is when Leo makes the claim that there are only about 300 people at this moment that really know the huge potential of AI, and he's one of them, as he claims. If you look at the first page of his manifesto, it states, "You can see the future first in San Francisco. Over the past year, the talk of the town has shifted from $10 billion compute clusters to $100 billion clusters to trillion-dollar clusters. Everyone is now talking about AI, but few have the faintest glimmer of what is about to hit them. Before long, the world will wake up. But right now, there are perhaps a few hundred people, most of them in San Francisco and the AI labs, that have situational awareness. Through whatever peculiar forces of fate, I have found myself amongst them." Really? Only a few hundred people in the whole entire world know the huge AI boom is coming when this essay was published in June of 2024? Like, if this thing was published in June of 2020, I'd be like, yeah, okay, this Leopold guy is in fact the Nostradamus of AI, because that's crazy. He called this whole thing like years and years before people were even talking about AI. But no, he published this thing when the AI hype was in full motion. By this time, OpenAI's ChatGPT was a huge deal, and every big tech company was trying to get in the AI biz. Anthropic had Claude, Google had Gemini, Microsoft had Copilot, Elon Musk started xAI and released Grok. NVIDIA stock had already been skyrocketing for months before this essay was published because people knew the demand for GPUs were huge for AI. In fact, that very same month that this essay was published, Apple held their annual Worldwide Developers Conference where they introduced Apple Intelligence, their take on how to integrate AI into their products. And you know what people said? Apple, you're late to the AI game compared to all of your competitors. Again, that was the same month this essay was published. But yet you're telling me at this time that only a few hundred people had situational awareness about AI? What also blows my mind is that seasoned veterans in Silicon Valley truly believe this. Vinod Khosla, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, venture capitalist, and now the new owner of the Seattle Seahawks, has been in the tech industry for over 4 decades. And he tweeted about this essay a couple of months after its release and says himself, "I am awestruck at the rate of progress of AI on all fronts. Today's expectations of capability a year from now will look silly. Yet most businesses have no clue what is about to hit them in the next 10 years when most rules of engagement will change. It's time to rethink, transform every business in the next decade." Read Situational Awareness by Leopold. I buy his assertion, only a few hundred people know what is happening. Really, dude? You're supposed to be one of the smartest and most successful guys in tech with a net worth of $14 billion, and you're telling me in August of 2024, you believe only a few hundred people have situational awareness of the potential of how big AI can be? Is this some sort of tech industry circle jerk where they're all patting themselves on the back thinking they're the only ones who know what the latest secret technology is that's going to boom in Silicon Valley next? This reminds me of when Joe Rogan was talking to another comedian and he claimed that they were one of only a few hundred elite comedians in the whole entire world, and how he really pats himself on the back when he proudly proclaims this.
How many of us are there? Let's talk about that.
True that.
Is there even 1,000 of us on Earth?
No.
Probably not, if you want to be honest.
Yes.
Like a real headliner, how many of us?
Yeah.
There might be 500 of us on Earth.
On Earth.
There's 1 million doctors in America alone.
Yeah.
How many comics are there? Real ones.
Real ones.
Guys can go up there and light a room on fire.
Yes.
Maybe a few hundred. It's hard to get there.
Yeah.
That's the short summary of my post or my view on the project.
But really smart and really wealthy people in tech truly believed Leopold's vision. And in his essay, you can see Leopold summarized basically his core fundamentals of how he would invest in AI to make a ton of money. Under the chapter Race to the $1 Trillion Cluster, it says, as AI revenue grows rapidly, many trillions of dollars will go into GPU, data center, and power build-out before the end of the decade. The industrial mobilization, including growing US electricity production by tens of %, will be intense. So basically what he's saying here is AI is inevitable. Tech companies are going to invest trillions of dollars into growing AI products, which means anything AI adjacent, like whatever is going to run and power these data centers, GPU companies, chip companies, energy companies, those are all going to be in high demand, and that is where, along with all the AI companies themselves, huge amounts of money could be made. So this begins the origin story of Leopold's hedge fund, which he names after his essay. And because this essay goes viral, and now people in the tech biz thinks he's an AI Nostradamus, the investment money starts pouring in from some big players. Key early investors include Patrick and John Collison, co-founders of the electronic payment company Stripe, as well as Nat Friedman, former CEO of GitHub, and Daniel Gross, another Silicon Valley big shot. This seed round was estimated to be about $225 million. Now, I'm not sure how much more money was invested into this fund as time went on, but for the next year and a half, Leopold really does look like the AI wonderkind. His hedge fund absolutely crushes it. His portfolio consists of companies like Anthropic, SanDisk, SK Hynix, Bloom Energy, and Nebius. And as tech companies poured in billions and billions of dollars to fuel the AI race, all of these companies' stock prices kept shooting up, and so did the size of Situational Awareness's fund, reaching a peak of $45 billion this year. Well, this all came to a head in late July, coincidentally, the week of Leopold's wedding, when Situational Awareness needed to have a flash sale on all of their public stock holdings to Ken Griffin and his hedge fund, Citadel. It has been reported that Citadel bought these stocks at about a 10% discount compared to market value. And to add insult to injury, those stocks immediately saw an increase on the days following the sale to Citadel. The reason for this flash sale? Well, you don't make a ton of money in a super short period of time without investing a ton of money. And in order to get a ton of money, Situational Awareness borrowed a ton of money, aka leverage. It's been reported that for about every dollar Situational Awareness had, they borrowed 3 to 4 times that. And in July, investors were feeling a little spooked about AI. People began to wonder if all of this spending in AI was sustainable. How long would it take for any of these AI products to become meaningfully profitable? And when would they finally see a return on investment? So, stocks across all the AI sector began to fall. This meant that the value of Situational Awareness's assets all decreased, which means they got margin called. All the big banks that they borrowed from, like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, they all came knocking on their door and demanded more cash. What also didn't help was that Situational Awareness was also betting against companies that they thought AI would replace. For example, they shorted Adobe, which saw a rise in its stock value around this time. In the end, Situational Awareness's assets go from a peak of $45 billion to now $10 billion. Leopold is handling all of this chaos in the middle of his wedding week. Apparently, his wedding was on the weekend, and in the days leading up to it, he was hosting some sort of business summit or tech conference type thing where he invited all the people in the industry to attend. So imagine, you're at your wedding, you're in front of all of the biggest names in AI, tech, Silicon Valley, and you have to stand at the altar in front of your soon-to-be bride, and you have to smile and pretend like you're having a grand old time. Well, despite all of these insane losses, a lot of big names in tech and business are still defending Leopold and saying that we shouldn't count him out. Anthony Pompliano, CEO of ProCap Financial, wrote a post on X that states, "Let's not forget that Leo still has a few $billion and a strong opinion of the future. If he is right, and he continues to play the risk-taking game, there is a high probability he will still create tens of billions of dollars in returns for his partners." You know what that translates to me? It says, hey, Leopold still has money, the casino is still open, and if he just makes the right bets, then he's back. I didn't know who Anthony Pompliano was, so I looked him up, and it turns out his company's stock is down 90% this year. Yeah, he's the one saying we shouldn't count Leo out. Check out this cringy video he released to defend the state of his company, just a couple of weeks before Leopold's huge losses.
Most people don't know this, but I'm the CEO of a publicly traded company, which sounds pretty cool, right? Well, there's only one big problem. The stock is down 90% from its all-time high, and that ain't good. Everyone I know is betting against us. They do not think that I can turn this thing around, but I'm gonna prove them all wrong. I'm about to do the impossible comeback. And the entire point of these videos is that I'm gonna document it all. The wins, the losses, the trials and tribulations. Every single thing that I can be transparent about, I'm going to. I'm gonna put it all out there, and I'm gonna work my ass off to turn this thing around.
Seriously, how did these people have so much money? Leopold goes on to write a letter to his investors stating how he takes full responsibility and how they will learn from this very costly mistake and come out stronger. At the end, he writes, "As an interim update, our current unaudited estimate of net month-to-date performance is minus 67%, and of net year-to-date performance is plus 80%. It sounds like he's trying to find a silver lining here and be like, hey, despite all the huge losses that we just had in the past few weeks, we're still up 80% year to date. But this tweet here by Jeff Karen states, the public book was fully novated to Citadel to satisfy the margin debt, leaving the LPs with a zero in the public equities book. The plus 80% comes from blending the Anthropic stake at plus 620% year to date, while the public book was minus 100%. Combining that, you get 80% year to date. So sounds like to me, one single company, Anthropic, is doing all of the heavy lifting to keep situational awareness up 80% year to date. Finally, Leopold signs off his letter with, "We will follow up regarding a group call next week to share further details. All the best, Leopold." Am I the only one that finds it funny that he wrote all the best to his investors when he just lost $35 billion of their money?
That's the short summary of my post or my view on the project.